59. Okay. We thus have learned that the chaylim alone is a foundation, whereas all the other vowels are constructs and compositions. It thus is necessary for us to bring Hashem, blessed is He, close to our mind through intellectual analogies and allegories, even though in reality there is absolutely nothing in the world to which He can be likened. In other words, whatever we are able to bring close to our knowledge by means of intellect alone should be done without the medium of tangible analogies. However, regarding whatever we are otherwise incapable of grasping, we have no choice but to do so through tangible analogies. For in truth, our intellect does not have the capacity to perfectly grasp Him, given that our intellect is intermingled with substance. Thus, most of what we comprehend of Him is through the medium of the tangible. It is for all these reasons that we say that the chaylim is the highest and most exalted of all the vowels and letters, which include all novel existence, that is, action and motion. We thus may compare Hashem, blessed is He, to this vowel as a means of bringing Him closer to our human comprehension. For this vowel is the foundation of the foundations of all novel existence, and at the very least, since it is a simple point, if He can be compared to anything at all, the chaylim is the simplest thing that we can compare Him to. Likewise, it is for these reasons that we state that these first three vowels are necessarily one foundation and two constructs, given that they have order, upper, intermediate, and lower. The chaylim is the aspect of simple intellect and is thus the highest and most elevated one. Thus, the chaylim moves the world of intellect. The shuruk is the intermediate and is lower than the chaylim. Thus, in relation to the chaylim, it is a construct, even though it is a foundation in relation to the chirik. Know then that the very fact that the shuruk is lower than the chaylim clearly attests that its level is not like the level of the chaylim. This being so, what then is the difference between the first foundation and the second foundation? The difference is as follows. The chaylim is always above and beyond and is never included within that which it moves. In contrast, the foundation of the shuruk is always in the center, and it is thus indicated within that which it moves. The upper point, which is the chaylim, hints to the world of intellect, whereas the point below it, the shuruk, hints at the world of substance, which is the world of the celestial spheres. The point of every sphere is in its center, just as the point of the shuruk is in the center of the letter. We thus see that the intermediate point takes up space and has certain limits and measure, which is not the case with the upper point. Similarly, the upper point of the chaylim moves the world of form, which is a world of simplicity, whereas the middle point of the shuruk moves the world of substance, which is a construct of form and substance. This being the case, the intermediate point possesses two qualities, form and substance. Such is not the case with the upper point, which is not even the most refined of forms. Thus, it is evident that the level of the upper point, which is the foundation of the world of intellect, which is the world of form, is far beyond the level of the world of the celestial spheres, which is the world of substance. The form is elevated and above the substance, just as the chaylim is above the shuruk. At the very least, it is understood that the chaylim is like the rider in relation to the shuruk, and that the shuruk is like the ridden upon, even though they both are points. We thus see that the point of the chaylim is always above, foundational, and separate. That is, it does not truly mingle with the substance whatsoever. In contrast, the shuruk consists of substance and form, just as the world of the celestial spheres, which corresponds to the shuruk, consists of substance and form. With all the above in mind, it is understood that the shuruk is a construct in relation to the chaylim. In contrast, the quality of the chirik is below both of them. Since it is the third level, it thus has three qualities: composition, substance, and form. It receives composition because it is the lowest. It receives substance from the intermediate point, and it receives form from the upper point, which is above everything. Thus, at the very least, it is understood that the point of the chirik vowel is below, as in the verse, and if the discolored spot is below, and it is dim, and it is isolated from all sides. According to the above, it is clear that the chaylim is not equal to the shuruk, and certainly not to the chirik, for the chaylim signifies the ultimate level of intellect, whereas the shuruk signifies substance and form, and the chirik signifies composition, substance, and form. Their positions indicate their qualities and levels, and that the chaylim is always above, the shuruk is always below it, and the chirik is always the lowest of the three. At the very least, understand that if the intellect that is elevated and separate from everything is not comparable to intellect that is manifest in substance, that is, intellect as it manifests in the celestial spheres, then it certainly transcends intellect that is commingled with the compositions of substance, that is, intellect as it manifests in the human mind. Thus, these vowels are not equal to each other in level, for there is necessary order to them. If they did not have this order, but instead were unrelated points, then the above question would be valid. However, since there is a necessary order to them, in other words, that there is an upper level, an intermediate level, and a lower level, the two lower ones are necessarily in the category of construct relative to the upper one. Moreover, the very fact that the lower ones are lower is clear testimony that the upper one is foundational, whereas they are constructs. Contemplate in this manner and realize that since these three vowel points are all singular points, they require clarification and examination to determine what they are. This is why we said that we neither have the permission nor the capacity to grasp the truth of the intellectual point chaylim and to differentiate between it and the other vowels, except through the medium of the letters, which are tangible in comparison. Thus, it is specifically when we juxtapose the letters to the vowel points that we are able to clarify the singular point chaylim and attests that it alone is singular and elevated above everything. Only then can it be understood and attested that the level of this upper singular point transcends the other vowels and that nothing in all of creation compares to it. For the chaylim conducts them all but is beyond and above them all. Through this, the reality that the intermediate vowel point, shuruk, is a construct of two components, form and substance, will also become clear. You thus have been given clear testimony that these vowels follow the necessary order of Hashem's supernal intent. That is, the chaylim is above, signifying the form of the intellect. The shuruk is below it, signifying the world of the celestial spheres that consist of substance and form, and the chirik is the lowest, signifying our lowly world of composition, substance, and form. These three vowel points are aligned corresponding to the upper world, the intermediate world, and the lowly world, as explained. The upper world is the world of form alone, for this is the world of the separate intellects. The intermediate world is the world of substance and form, as it is the world of the celestial spheres that possesses both substance and form. The lowly world consists of composition, substance, and form, and is the world of composition and decomposition, in that beings of this world come into being and then decompose. This is because they consist of composition, substance, and form. It should thus be clear that the levels of these three vowels are not equal, because the first is a level of 1, the second is the level of 2, and the last is the level of 3. Nonetheless, the truth of the chaylim, which is the foundation of all existence, cannot be realized without the medium of a letter, which is the aspect of tangible comprehension. For without the letter, it would be impossible for us to know if the singular point is a foundation, a construct, or a composition. That is, we would be incapable of distinguishing between what is primary and what is secondary. We thus say that if a solitary point is before your eyes, you cannot grasp what it is to know the intellect of it, that is, whether it is a chaylim and represents the foundation of the whole world, whether it is a shuruk and represents construct, or whether it is a chirik and represents composition. Ultimately, because of their order, the point that is necessarily foundational is only the chaylim, whereas the others are constructs. Nonetheless, through the chaylim, though the chaylim is holy and the others are mundane, they cannot be differentiated without the medium of the letters. That is, through the letter which is tangible, we can distinguish that the foundation is the foundation, that the construct is the construct, and that the composition is the composition. This is unknowable through the vowel points as they are alone, since they are all intellect. However, they can be known through the medium of the letter which is tangible. It thus arises that in the whole world there is but one foundational point, the chaylim, that no other points compared to, and that this point is analogous to Hashem, our Creator, who is absolutely one. Blessed is He, and blessed is His name. He is the foundation of everything, but is separate and above everything, and no one can compare to Him. Similarly, although the other vowel points are also points, nonetheless, only the chaylim is truly singular and above. Likewise, though every individual being in existence is counted as one, nonetheless, none are truly one and singular except for Hashem, the singular pre-existent, intrinsic being, our Creator, who gives existence and form to everything. Blessed is He, and blessed is the very mention of His name. This clarifies why we specifically bring proof about Hashem, blessed is He, from the singular point of the chaylim, which is the foundation for everything that is below it. For the chaylim is analogous to the singular one, blessed is He, who is above and beyond all other beings, but is the foundation for the existence of all that He brings into being. However, we who are deficient in that our intellect is invested within substance are incapable of investigating or contemplating His absolute unity and singularity except through the medium of analogy and descriptive terminology as necessitated by our natural limitations. In the same manner, we are incapable of investigating or contemplating the chaylim, which is singular and distinct from the other vowel points, except through the medium of a letter. It is specifically through this that we can distinguish between the singular and foundational vowel point choilem and the other vowels, which, as explained, are complete constructs. For just as not all units of one are equal, so likewise not all vowel points are equal. We're going to stop here on page 67.